Mark Dickinson, welcome to Tasty Humans. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Samuel Graham.
Thank you very much for coming on. Now,
It's awesome.
now we go back quite a long way. We've done quite a few things together, had some very interesting times. But I suppose, where I'd like to start is that there are two statements I think in life that get thrown around. One is F&B specialist, and the other is larger than life. And I think that you encompass both. So I'm
Oh,
very excited about this conversation.
okay.
So you own your own training company.
Hmm,
You're a qualified life coach.
hmm,
You write books.
hmm,
You have been an F&B director in some of the world's top hotels, if I'm
hmm.
not mistaken.
Correct.
Why do you like people development so much?
Great question.
Thank you very much.
Love it.
Not pre-planned at all.
I think that the most exciting thing is to go into your garden and see the plants and trees and flowers that are growing there. And remember that once upon a time, it was in a little pot. And you were praying and hoping that this plant will spring up and give you a blossom, a flower, a lemon. So we have a little lemon tree in the garden. We have a kumquat tree. We have an olive tree. And so we've watched these trees grow up. And honestly, when I can connect with a person who is eager to grow themselves, to see some fruit in their own life, I feel like I have the privilege of being a gardener. And my job is not to make them grow. My job is to water, to protect, and, garden around it, and sometimes prune some of the dead branches. And that is what I love most about working with people. And then the fruit comes much later when they spontaneously say, you know what? I've grown, or I've changed, or I've done. And they call me and they tell me, you know what? I want to tell you, you're the first person I want to call. And I think that to me is just magic. It's unbelievable what humans can do when they decide they want to grow.
Is that the first step that they have to decide themselves and sort of walk through the door? Or have you been in situations where you've been working with people and you've sort of noticed with them and you've actually made the suggestion? How does that sort of process manifest?
Yeah, that's brilliant. Actually, and that's a question I've never had to answer before, so it's cool to
Perfect.
answer
There we
this.
go.
I think it's kind of like spreading seeds on the ground for a bird to come, but you're going to catch this bird, right?
Mhm.
So what you do is you sprinkle the seeds and you got the trap above it. The person has to be enticed. So a lot of my work is like enticing people to personally like get fired up, if you want. Like, so we do a lot of touching, we do a lot of hugging, we do a lot of vocal work, like hey, and they express themselves. So you quite commonly find that I'll get everybody in a group to stand up and simultaneously express their gratitude.
Mhm.
So you get them to write it down, and then they all stand up and they all say it. And the shock that you see in their faces as they realize how exciting it is to be grateful is magic.
Why do you think that's so important? Because when you see the, I suppose the outburst in the last few years about motivational speakers and YouTube videos and everything like this, that I myself in a period of time got quite addicted to watching this.
Yeah, okay.
The first sort of things that came along was to gratitude, gratitude,
Yeah.
gratitude, gratitude. What is the mental process of that, and why is it so important?
I think it's the God gene.
The God gene.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
the gratitude that's in your DNA that connects you to something greater than yourself. Because when you're being thankful, it's because something bigger than you happened to you. And so the person who's expressing gratitude has gone above themselves. They've said, my ego is down, skip the ego. I'm going to be thankful. And so you have this room full of people who are very unusually saying thank you to whom they don't know, for what they're just getting a grip on it.
Mm.
And they experience this moment where they felt that life has something bigger. And then what I do is later on through the process is I come back and I say, I invite you. And there's something so awesome about somebody saying, I invite you. I'm going to use this word for the third time, magic inside this word of invitation. Sam, I invite you for lunch. You go, oh, thank you. There's this bigger than you experience when someone says, I invite you. So you're coming into something as a guest.
Do you think it makes somebody feel valued when
Definitely.
they get invited? So it's like saying, I want to spend time with you. And then that makes someone go, oh,
Yes,
I might be
definitely.
remotely interesting to
And
somebody.
it means that you are worthy of what I want to give you. So then what you do, coming back to the original question, is you start considering like, yeah, I'm worth more than I thought I was. And so then you say, well, yeah, I might take up this invitation. And then you say, Mark, I'd like to take that invitation. I say, fantastic. Now you've decided that you want to grow. So now you're in the perfect spot because that's the trigger. That's the seed in the pot.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't want to grow, I can't make you.
Yeah.
And so most of my work, public work, is an invitation to go inside and look at you and say, I want to become a better version of myself. For me, not because the world or some motivational speaker, I don't believe in motivational speakers. I think it's a lot of garbage. I think there are inspirational speakers. And if you watch the internet, and you've had plenty of experience of watching these people, what you see is there's a recipe or a formula. And I was reviewing one of these famous guys recently. And he's a guy I super respect. I learned a lot from him. And I saw him up on stage in 2024. And I go, dude, you're missing heart. You are doing a process. And he had in front of him over 1,000 people and broadcasting live. And I know that he made $2 million in that event. But I could tell his heart wasn't there. And I think that's the crisis. You've got to focus on inspiring and not motivating. I can't motivate you.
Without naming names, was it somebody that has been doing this for a very long time?
Yeah.
And you got the feeling that they're just going through the motions? How do you feel? Because obviously being somebody, let's say, on the inside of this. So it's like being a DJ going to watch a DJ.
Yeah.
It's like, like, I know what you're doing and I know what you haven't. I know what you haven't done.
Right.
So how did the audience respond?
Was it? I think the audience is already gulled. They're gullible.
Because they've already... So like stand-up comedy. I'm already going to laugh, even if I don't get it, because I'm in the room and I don't want to look silly.
And there are some new people in their room who have never been. So it's all new. And they're young and they're excited and they're like on their personal journey. So it's like, I'm going to grow, I'm going to grow, I'm going to grow. So they're in a growth mindset. So what my friend does is he triggers that. And so I was watching it and I'm like, dude, there's no heart here. You're using all the techniques, but you are not here. And to me, that's called motivational speaker. When I hear, let's say, Tony, for example, Tony is all heart 24/7.
Tony Robbins.
Yeah. He's the real deal. And he is rightfully called the father of coaching, modern day coaching I'm talking about, life coaching. He built it. He earned that. But what I really respect is that he still shows up with heart 100% of the time. And he has these rituals that he does before he goes out. And that's when you know somebody's a craftsman, is dedicated to the growth of the others.
And what are your rituals?
Oh, man, thanks for asking.
There you go. I was going to say what are Tony's rituals. I thought, who wants to know that? Like, we want to know what your rituals are.
So. Yeah, I think obviously one we've already talked about is gratitude. So basically, at the moment, my latest one is called GIFTS, GIFTS. So it starts with gratitude. So every single day since 2016 until today, never missed a day, sit down, take out a sheet of paper, write down my gratitude, my I ams, that's the I. Then I write down F, which is my friends. So I list out the people that I am learning from and growing to be like or gaining from or who are mentoring me.
Is that a big list or a short list?
Well, it's an amazing list. It's divided in 5
Yeah.
segments: mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, financial. So what I do is I get people in each area of my life, because your life is basically here, your body, and your soul, and then money. So those are the 5 areas of your life. So I call it MESPF. So the mental part, what I do is I look for people who are smarter than me, and then I fight to get time with them. So they help me to grow and learn. The emotional, I have a friend, he's huge, he's bigger than me, and I just love to meet him, give him a huge hug. And there's just a safety and a security in being with him. I can say anything, I'm not judged. So he's more emotionally stable than me. Then I have my spiritual friends, and I have Coach online, and I get together once a month and we talk about spirituality and God and Jesus and things that I personally deeply like to talk about. And they're better than me. They're further along in the journey. They're older than me, so I'm the baby in the group. So
Must be nice. At
yes,
your
it
age.
is. Yeah, I mean,
To
almost
still be the
60, and then
baby.
these guys, you
Yeah.
know, they're one's a judge, one's a psychiatrist, one's a lead singer in a band. You know, it's a very eclectic group, but I'm growing. And then physically, I have objectives for myself in that area. Measure my weight, my sleep, how much did I walk, how much did I work out every single day.
Mhm.
And so that's a list. And then financially, what I look for is people who are really successful in areas that I want to succeed. And I just go after them and I hunt them down until they give me time.
Mhm.
And I always get it. And that grows me. So that's the F, that's the friends. So I really focus on this. So the group is flexes. So, you know, it will expand. Maybe I'll find 2 people in the finance area for a time. And the idea is that as long as you're conscious of having friends in each area of your life, so you're expanding in each area of your life, you're getting better.
Mm.
And the moment you're getting better over here, maybe over here is going down a little bit. And then you go, oh, so then you're like, oh, I need to really grow in spirit. So if you go too much in finance, you lose your spirituality. So then you say, okay, I'm going to get spiritual. Then you lose your connectedness and you sort of like, ooh, no, you can't be ooh. You have to be grounded. So it's about keeping this balance. And so by having these people in each area of your life, what you're able to do is grow yourself.
So you would definitely, not to put words in your mouth, subscribe to the notion of show me your friends, I'll show you your future.
Absolutely. You're the
Yeah.
average of 5 people you hang out with.
I really believe in that. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So that's the GIF, gratitude, I am's friends. Talent. What are you awesome at doing? Recognize it and embrace it every single day. So I have areas that I think that I'm really good at. And so those are the areas that I say, this is my talent. And so by acknowledging my talent, and anyone should do this,
Mhm.
and you know your talent, like you're discovering your talent, you're doing this podcast. I think that's awesome. I'm so proud of you stepping out to do
Thank
that.
you.
It's brilliant because that's your talent. You have a message, you have a desire. And so you're doing that. So that's your talent. And then the last one is success. And we have 2 kinds of success. So gratitude, I am, your friends, your talent, and your success. So what success do you have? You have the success behind you, and you have the success that you dream of. And so what you're doing is remembering what just happened that was awesome.
Mm.
So this was success. Yeah, yesterday I did this. Wow. And you're like, yeah. So it's good. That's that positive vibe of the past success. And you say, okay, what success do I want to see in the future? And really honing in on that. And so I work on those things and I craft them and I change the words each day. Like, these are the things I really want to see happen. And I write them down and it's not random.
Mhm.
And I would say, if you want to put a banner over me, it's I become what I think about.
Yeah, you used to
You
say.
remember that? I
Yeah,
still
haven't heard
say
that
it.
for
Okay.
ages. Yeah.
Right. So if that's true, then I need to curate what I think about so that what happens is what I want to see happen. So randomly, if you, oh yeah, I want to do this, and then you forget about it, then the chances of it happening are diminished. But if you concentrate and you come back to this every single day, this is what I want to see happen. And then you're like, oh, I'll just tweak a word here or there. And then I memorize because I'm writing it every day. And so now I have this massive pile of paper since 2016 till now. It's huge. It's like this. But just seeing this pile of paper gives me the power to convince you that you need to do gifts every day.
Mm.
And so you say, wow. And I can tell you, I started minus almost $1 million when I kicked off this whole process. Today, I've sold the whole thing. Today, I'm in a profitable situation where I feel so blessed. I feel like, man, God shined the light on me all over again. And that's amazing. And that is because I become what I think about. So I directively think, and everybody can do that, and everyone should do that. So you take this, it gets longer as you do it more often, because you start, well, I can't just say, thankful for the sun and the earth and the happy day. So you start getting deeper into it, right? So as long as you're focused on gratitude, your I ams, your friends, your talent, your success, it expands. And then you know what you really, really want out of life, you will move towards it. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. And that's why I'm sitting here.
So that's really good stuff, by the way. And I'm on the WhatsApp group, and it happens every day. And the thing that recently happened that I thought was really cool was that you always used to do it at the same time, and then that stopped and it started coming out at different times. And I think, how long has it been now? Consecutive days?
Oh, 1,800 or 1,900 days now.
So for everyone that kind of doesn't know what we're talking about, Mark has a WhatsApp group that there's, how many people are on it?
Well, I curated the group to just people who actually read the message. So it used to be going out to around 3,000-4,000 people a day. Now it just goes out to, I don't know, 20 people.
But the thing is that every day a message comes out, and every day the message is different, and it has different meanings, different lengths. Some are short, some are larger. I won't lie, some are good, some I'm like, yeah, I don't get that at all. You know what I mean? But I think that's the importance of it. It's not everything is for me, but for it to continue to happen. And I remember sometimes I would say to you, there'd be the shortest message, and I like, just go do it, something like this. And I would say that was really, really good. And you would say that took me about an hour and a half to decide just to write that. And it's quite a commitment, and something you should be incredibly proud of. But one thing
I'll tell you the secret, though.
Go on.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, of course you can.
So actually, the reason I started the quotes is I got so fed up with Twitter and people regurgitating quotes. I'm like, man, I am sick of this stuff. I want to read a quote that inspires me. So the reason I started it was I wanted to read something that touched me each day. And so instead of borrowing from, George Washington or Abraham Lincoln or, Nikola Tesla, which is awesome.
But also the problem with this is exactly that. When you go on to, like I did through the COVID sort of times where life was probably at its most depressing for me, which is, I'm going to be open to that. You knew me then, which you're looking for inspiration. And then you end up hearing these magical statements, you are the force of your this and that and everything else, and run a mile, and and it sounds really, really good. The thing is that people get into a habit of just cutting them all together into shorter clips. So it's just one after the other of these voices essentially shouting at you. And the problem I found was that you get addicted to listening to it, thinking this is going to be the trigger. And the thing that I think made me step away from that was I realized I've no further along in my life, no happier, but I'm just listening to the same thing. I know this. They're just saying it over and over again. You have to go from stop listening to it to actually doing it, which is a sort of big difference. But one thing I wanted to come back to was you said that a light was shined on you to sort of do it again or something. At what point did you then step away from, let's say, the normal working world of F&B director and stuff like this, and say, right, I'm now going to create my own training company. I'm going to become a coach. At what point did that sort of change for you?
Oh, and thanks for asking. You're going to take me on memory lane.
So it's all
I
about.
don't like these people who constantly talk about their past experiences. You're kind of like, come on, let's go. Um, Basically, I was in F&B, and then I started up a bunch of companies in the early 2000s, and I was crap at it, totally, because I had been inside these structured organizations. So I thought I knew how to do business. What I didn't realize is that all the structure that these huge F&B organizations have is not there by chance. It's built, and I didn't know how to build it. I knew how to operate it.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to work, and 10 years later, I came at it again. And this time I had this supposedly brilliant idea where I'm going to run a TV show and I'm going to invest in people's projects. So it's kind of like a Shark Tank type thing, except the focus wasn't on us as investors. The focus was on the people and trying to help, really genuinely help people from very ordinary backgrounds who have an idea. So I did that for 2 years, and I invested a fortune, and 0 companies succeeded. So I'm like, what are you doing? So I obviously had to go back to work because I used up all my resources doing that. So it was a live TV show. It was incredible. However, none of those businesses worked, and we invested in like 40 of them. So today I would say that was, my education. It was a degree in startups. And then I went back, I became CEO of a company again. We had 20 odd restaurants. I think it was like 27. And we had 5 under construction. And so at the beginning of my tenancy as the CEO, I had this meeting and I called all the managers together. I'm like, okay, guys, I'm here. We're going to go. And I was so excited, all my usual noise. And by now you obviously know that I'm lively.
Larger than life. You know what I mean?
And so these guys all came and I said, listen, here's what I need you guys to do. Bring me your manuals, bring me your policies, bring me your training, bring me your procedures. What did they bring? A dog-eared Excel sheet, somebody nothing at all. They totally forgot. I'm like, how do you run 27 restaurants with no policies and procedures and standards?
How do you forget to bring one to a meeting that's been requested
Right.
by the CEO?
And so I realized there's just this massive complacency amongst managers. When a manager is trying to get hired, he's God's gift to F&B. Once the guy got the job, he's an egocentric lunatic. And he is the highest level of learning. And this is what destroys restaurant managers. Excuse me. And so when I look at these kids today, 30, 35, and they're like full of it, I just sit back and I let them. Because they're not ready to listen. They can't hear me. And if you tell them a story, they can't hear you. So what happened is I actually disagreed with the owner. And on my 49th year and 364th day, I got fired. And that was a grounding experience. So I woke up 50 years old, unemployed. But it wasn't that bad because I got a good severance because CEO,
Yeah.
it's all right. So there was a nice parachute, but that parachute was the greatest gift in my life. So the day I got fired, I knew it was coming. I mean, you can always feel that. It was just this massive disagreement. I mean, you run a company with no policies, no procedures, and you don't care about it, and you think that training is a joke. So you're not going to agree with somebody like me. So it was a matter of time. And I went home, and I sat home, and I thought, what do I want to see happen next in my life? And that is when I said, you know what, I'm going to try and build something unique. And then a very dear lifelong friend of mine called me from Bangkok, where I used to live, and said, hey, bro, come and run our company for us. We want to sell it. We want you to polish it, make it look good so we can sell it. I said, awesome, great. So I went to Thailand. They had 32 restaurants. So I called the managers. And guess what I got? Rubbish. So I was really happy because that's where I shine. So I got to build the policies, the procedures, and the standards. Did the job. And then Ken sold the company. And my role was over. During the TV show time, I started another company in the US, which is a software company. But I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want anyone to look at it.
It's Apple.
It's
It's Apple.
And I lost that company through my own lack of experience. And so I was really angry about it, like super angry.
What was it? Did you lose it? Was it taken? Was it hostile? Like, just, I mean, you don't have to expand, but
my own ineptness. I think it was just me.
I ask because lots of people want to start their own companies. I've tried to do it myself before, and you can get into this dizzy sense of security where you don't realize, I suppose, how quickly people can come along and snatch it, I suppose.
Well, the thing is,
it's a bit too dramatic, but you know what I mean.
You see how my body changed now when I talk about this, right? Because now I'm about to give a speech.
Right.
You want to start a company, you got to own more than half. And you got to hire the people or pay for the stuff you want done. Do not trade it for shares. Otherwise, you're going to fail. I don't care. If you have $10, find a way to get what you need done with the $10. And today it's easier than it's ever been. ChatGPT and all these AIs. How many AIs there are today? They will write a video for you, create whatever content you want. They'll do it for you. So if you want to start a company, you have to say, I'm going to work hard. Harder than I have ever worked. Or you're not safe. Somebody will take it away from you. So you have to own more than half. If you can own all of it, that's even better. And then you have to make sure that everything you get done for you is not on the basis of a share in the company. And what I hear from people working in companies, we want to share. Great. So I did a podcast with a friend of ours, Ziad Kamil, who owns Cook Late, right?
Yeah. How's he doing?
Ziad is amazing. He's now opening more restaurants, and he is rigid in his adherence to building a business system. And so what he does is he says, if you want to become a shareholder, you're welcome. How many shares do you want? This is how much they cost. Put up the money and you can be a shareholder. But don't think that you're working for salary for me and I'm going to give you shares.
Yeah.
We're not, I don't know, Bill Gates and his corporations. We are a company, and there are very few companies that get to this. Why should I give you a share in the company? I'm already giving you a share. I'm paying you profit. I'm paying you salary. So,
or you can have shares, but I'll reduce your salary by 75%.
And put that money
and you can
to the
work
share.
for it. Do you know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
So yes. So this is what I think. So then in the end of 2015, my friend Kenneth said to me, what is your problem? I told him, what do you mean? He said, why are you so angry? I said, because I lost this company. He's like, no, you didn't lose anything. I told him, yes. He said, no. And I'm like, Kenneth, I don't have it anymore. He's like, yes. Who made the company? I said, I did. He said, okay, so where's the problem? And I'm like, yes, you're right. And you know the theory of blue ocean and Red Sea?
No.
Okay, there's something called blue ocean strategy, which principally means blue ocean is the big wide ocean and it's full of opportunity. And the Red Sea is a small space where everyone's fighting and the water's turned red with blood because we're all competing over the same thing. He said, blue ocean. And I'm like, yes. September 27, 2015, I built the best PowerPoint ever seen on earth. I challenge anyone. It was about 160 pages. and you could click on any link anywhere in the PowerPoint, and it functioned like a website, like an app. But I did it all in PowerPoint. And what I did was I created a software platform for learning and training and development of people. And I said, this is what the hospitality industry needs. And people were like, oh, there's loads of those. I said, yes, there are, but they're not run by me. I've been 40 years as a manager in this business today. I celebrate 40 years as a manager. And that brings with it what no other software company has. And I understand and I listen, and I spend hours and hours listening to managers of operations telling me what their pain points are, what they wish they could see solved, and how they just don't want to do it. They just want it done. And so my dream at that time was a company called Done. And why? Because you get this and it's done. I mean, it's not really true, because you still have to do the work and you have to, fill in the blanks and all that good stuff. And you have to produce your own content, because we are a platform for a company to imprint themselves on it.
Well, this is the thing. When I first saw this, that I remember this, we were in your apartment, you showed me, and I was like, hang on a minute, this is genuinely amazing. And I'm not just saying that. And it's because my background in training was about culture and brand, and getting you to buy into the culture and into the brand. And it's not just how do you serve this cup of coffee? It's how do you serve this cup of coffee in the way that we do culturally. So if I'm here at Media One, which obviously I am, it's how do we serve a cup of coffee the Ciao Bella way, you know? And it's getting people to buy into that culture. Now, with the online platforms that you can get, which I won't name, but those in the industry know what they are, you're not getting any of that. You're getting how do you serve a cup of coffee, which for me was, I had a big problem with this. I had many arguments with a couple of individuals in companies I used to work for about how I don't subscribe to this, because it removes the culture from the brand. When I saw Done and the fact that everyone has to create the content, I was like, okay, this is the best of both worlds, because everything has gone online. I think a good question is, where do you even start to build an interface which functions like Facebook, essentially? But how do you even start that? What was the mapping, I suppose?
I think that having been a trainer forever and ever, so I got certified as a trainer in 1984. So that's a heck of a long time ago.
I was 8. Watching Return of the Jedi.
And having practiced in Thailand, Japan, Uganda, America, United Kingdom, Middle East, Kuwait, Dubai, Lebanon. So I've trained people all over the world, and lots of them. And so coming into this, I understand what the industry needs, but I'm not the ultimate, like saying I know. I have a very open mind to listen to people around me and what they need and what they want. So what I did is I built the interface based on handbook, job description, orientation, learning program, and product. So this is the journey of every employee in any company. So how could I simply deliver that? And so that's how it was built. So that was my creation of the interface. And then it's people like you and Joey and Ziad, who we mentioned, Joey Ghazal of the Main, yourself. I mean, you played a huge role in getting us to grow, because there was a time when I'm just like, I'm fed up. I don't want to do this anymore. And you're like, no, this is awesome. And you kept me on track.
Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that there might be some dodgy, choppy edit in amongst this, which we didn't cut out any bad words or any things we shouldn't say. We just had a technical problems. So we've fixed that and we're back on track. So I think that where we were was the beginning of Done, the essence of Done. We've met in your apartment. You showed me. I really sort of fell in love with it. We had a lot of fun with it. One thing I actually wanted to go back to, which was before we now expand further on Done, is you said that you became a certified trainer in 1984, which, if my
Yeah.
math is correct, which sometimes it is, that's a 40-year of training people. And you
Yeah.
actually said in that you've trained hundreds and hundreds of people around the world.
Yeah, thousands.
How have people changed in the absorption of training, in the sense of, I came through Planet Hollywood, the big American guns, where training is military, and it was drummed into us, and we were super passionate about it. And I've been very passionate about it ever since. I find that these days it's difficult to get people to hook into it as much as before. And like you alluded to, you've worked for big companies that don't seem to have any real plan. How have people changed, I think, is a good question. Or have you changed? How do you adapt to, let's say, in I don't know, 1990, you would have trained someone who's 20 years old. That person's now 44, or 54, 44, 54, 44. I don't know, whatever. The thing is that now you have to train a 20-year-old again. So how has this changed? How have people changed? I really went the long way round with that.
That's really interesting. I like this question because it stirs my brain.
Good.
I think that the method of delivering the message has changed. So I would say if I went back 15 years, slides and PowerPoints and slideshows were an emerging tool. They'd been there for a while. I mean, I remember something called an OHP, which I don't think many people know what that is.
That just popped into my head.
And that is called an overhead projector. And you had a piece of plastic. You created your slides on the piece of plastic and put them on the thing and took them off. So to do a presentation back then was massive. It was colossal. If you were really, really good, you had a projector with slides in it. And you had to shoot the picture, put the slide in the projector, and then you had a screen with a. I mean, it was crazy, bro. I mean, back then, when you did one of those huge presentations, you weren't thinking about the audience. You were just consumed by how you're going to give the message. I think today tech has given us so much freedom to give our message that you can really focus on the people now, because delivering the message is easy. The tech is there. So, you can have the slideshow on your phone if you want and just press next and it appears on the screen behind you. So I think taking tech out of the equation in terms of as a presenter. So what I've done, and the other thing I think is being so aware of my message nowadays, that I don't need slides. I don't need paper. I don't need anything. What are we talking about today? Okay, it's this. Great. So what are the key things somebody needs to know? And then I just put one word on a slide just to keep me on the flow, not even really for the participants. It's just like I see the word and I say, okay, this is what comes next. And now I even get it down to just putting a circle or a pyramid or a square on screen. And that cues me for the next 20, 30 minutes because I know what I want to say. So how does that affect the learner? So learners 15, 20 years ago, it was military. It was a military experience. So they had to come in, they had to learn, and they had to go out. But guest experience today is something that has significantly changed with the use of Google reviews, TripAdvisor, etc., etc. So the customer now has a voice, whereas 15 years ago, customer had no voice. Yep. They had to write to the company or call the company and complain, and there was no one to listen. Today, you serve me in a rubbish way, I'm going to tell the world. And you don't know how many people I have following me. So if I give the message, maybe 1 million people are going to hear that your place did a bad job. So what did that do to training? That accelerated the need to train your people because you couldn't get away with it anymore. You can't hide it because you're in public. You're on stage all day, every day in the smallest restaurant. So what that did is it converted the employee into a learner. He has to learn because otherwise he's going to get pounded. So I think that's the change that's taken place with the learners. And then tech, well, I'm proud that we can deliver to that employee everything they need to know without any face-to-face interaction. Because basically managers don't really manage places. Most of them are bone lazy. All right? They show up, they say the right things, but actually doing stuff, they rarely do anything. If a manager is still doing a schedule, he should be fired. Simple as that. What are you doing using my paid time doing a schedule? A monkey can do a schedule. All you have to do is train them. Who is the most qualified person in the business? Is the manager. So who should train the people? The person with the skill and the talent and the flair and the passion gets these little people in and tells them, listen, let me tell you a story. And then all these kids are like, ooh, what is it? When I was your age. And then they'll go, oh. And and then they go, yesterday I had dinner in Soul Kitchen.
I'm going there tonight.
Oh, you are?
I'm going Chef Margarita.
Yeah.
She was on before. I'm going
Oh,
there
right.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So say hi to her. Yesterday I went to Soul Kitchen and I've been there before. And this was my second visit. So I sat down and the waiter came to the table and his name was Gun. He was exceptional. He brought this dish to the table and then he said, this dish is, and then he went into it. It was hummus with chimichurri and then it has this bread with it that's been toasted and it has some herbs on it. And the guy was like going through this whole thing. And then I'm like, thank you so much. And he left the table. And I said to the guy I was having dinner with, said, bro, this is an exceptional experience. Why? Because that guy has learned. He's not from Lebanon, where the cuisine, it's a Levantine South American cuisine. And shout out to Jade, who is a DJ, who you should interview on your show, by the way.
Good, yeah.
So he's DJ, restaurateur, and club owner. So he'll be a good one for you.
From Factory People.
Yeah, Factory People, right.
Wasim, yeah.
Wasim, right.
Yeah,
So,
I know him well, yeah.
But what they've done, and I'm so proud to encourage them on their journey, is they have instilled the values of their flavors and creations into the team serving the food. So it's no longer a waiter. It's an experience provider. And I think
it's a good line. That's a very good line.
But that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
So in hospitality, we don't employ people anymore. They join the message.
Mm-hmm.
And they are true ambassadors of your product. And the more I can have that frontline waiter participate in creating a guest experience, or as I call them, customer experience.
I was going to bring this up, yeah.
So then I succeed. So back all the way to Dan, and I really want to shout out to you and Joey of the Main and Ziad and Omar of Orange Hospitality and JA Resorts and these guys.
I would definitely say Omar as well from Orange Hospitality.
Yeah, I said Omar.
Yeah, no, you did. Yeah, I just want to sort of double shout out because that was a big moment.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
And without these guys, I don't think we'd be where we are. And I'm super grateful. I mean, without a doubt, these were my MESPF, which I was talking about before. These are my mental and physical, emotional, spiritual, financial people from that phase. And they still are, to be honest. They're still in the circle. And they help me as a human. Tasty human.
Yeah. 100%.
Uh, not always with the product, not always with the software, but with me on my journey of building the company. And so that was awesome. So I'm just really thankful for all those guys, and especially you. And being here is really, really cool. It's kind of surreal. Like, it has too much inside it to express.
Well, we've had so many like very interesting conversations
Yeah.
whilst doing done for about, I think it was about 2 years. I
Yeah.
was with you with different clients. That
Yeah.
no, it's awesome to be sitting here doing this, where it's kind of my thing this time,
Yeah.
which is super cool.
Yeah.
But guests versus customers,
Oh.
which I think, because I did say I was going to come back to this, is I think maybe people might want to understand what that's about. So this was probably our biggest debate that
Yeah.
we even had publicly a couple of
Yeah.
times in some of the done classroom
Yeah.
training sessions, which is why do you insist it's a customer when the industry always says guests? Like, look at your face. Sorry.
Can I just bring my
we've really debated
soapbox?
this, yeah, because we've
soapbox,
really gone,
and
yeah.
for those of you who know the expression,
Yeah.
I'm getting on my soapbox.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, guys. In the 1970s,
Guys, so you're now talking to everyone. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. Go on, yeah.
guys like the world,
Yeah,
right?
the world.
In the 1970s, we were a post-industrial society. We were just moving out of industry into the fledgling service industry. If you went to a restaurant, it was crap. England, where I had the pleasure of spending the 70s, food was terrible. And if you told people there's good food in the UK, they'd be like, nah. And you had to go to France to get good food. And they told you there's good food in America, everyone just laughed. It was not a thing. So there was no service industry. And so what happened is the big corporations like Sheraton, which was one of the pioneers of the huge hospitality industry that we see today, Marriott, who in all their glory today are probably one of the biggest hotel companies, was a motel hotel non-event. You wanted to go to nice hotels, you went to Trust House 40, you went to some of those old, super established independent hotels, the Ritz, the Waldorf. And what's happened is they were bringing all these people out of industry and putting them into hospitality. So what did they do? Well, these people were all, we have to serve the customer. And so they're like, don't call them customers because that's just like processing people. So let's call them guests. So it's a higher level. So guest, what is a guest? I invite you to my home. Invite.
Mhm.
And you go, yeah, I'm coming to your house, right? So you're wearing those beautiful white jeans that you got.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, Sam, have a glass of wine. And I tip the red wine on your jeans. And I go, oh, bro, I'm sorry. You're like, just give me some soda water. It's okay. And you're like, these jeans cost me $500. But you don't tell me that. You're like, that's okay. Don't worry. It's okay. And you have another glass of wine and away you go. You come in my restaurant and I splash a speck on your $50 jeans. You are going to eviscerate me.
Mm-hmm.
And you are going to demand that I make reparations. You are not a guest, my friend. You are a customer. Imagine when you leave my home, I go, Sam, it was great to have you. You got a second? Can you just give me your credit card for a second? You'd be like, why? Say, well, you're a guest, but you need to pay. You tell me, are you a lunatic? Say, well, yeah, probably. But
Yeah.
we know that already.
Yeah.
But that would just be so preposterous. Of course you're not going to pay. You're my guest. So let's put the church back in the middle of the village. A person going...
What a great term that is.
Yeah, a person going into a restaurant is paying. And they
Correct.
want an experience. They're not a guest. They are a customer.
But you're amplifying the transactional part of it when my interpretation to treat people like guests is how you want them to feel. So, yeah, I want to give you money. Like when I go to a supermarket, I'm giving you money. I am a customer. But when we bring people to restaurants, the idea, I think anyway, where my argument always was making the team understand how you want people to feel.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you got to get the money out of them.
Yeah.
We're all out of business. But that was always my argument, which is, yes, they are customers. Yes, it's a financial transaction, but I think it's always, I believe in the term, make them feel like guests, because you want them to feel like they are special,
No,
personal,
bro, I
private.
want an employee to feel like, you know what? This person that I'm serving is paying my salary.
Of course.
So I'm going to give my best for that
But
person.
how do you get them to come back?
Well, I take care of them. I
Like
make an experience. It's customer experience. You give me a crap experience, I'm not coming back.
100%.
You ask me to go to Soul Kitchen, I will go 7 nights a week because it was so awesome. I go to Joey's restaurants. I love what happens. The transaction is amazing. I go to Omar's restaurants and they're brilliant. I go to Ziad's restaurants and they're fantastic. These are places where it is ingrained. Experience. You call it guest experience, customer experience. Experience is the key word.
Mm-hmm.
But they are paying. So when you give value for money, which can be the smile, which can be knowing what the dishes that you're... So yesterday, the guy blew us away with his knowledge about food. So we hauled him back to the table after a while and we're like, how do you know all this stuff? Well, we taste every dish. Said, did you taste this one? Yes. And he's like an expert in what he's actually serving. That's so unusual.
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
So it's focused on customer experience. So customers pay, guests invited. So next time you say, be our guest, I'll say, yes, sure.
Yeah.
Don't expect me to pay.
Well, you know, I'm gonna leave that there, because that was like a trailer to possibly 2-hour debates on customers versus guests. But that would spiral on for hours, because I'm not going to give in, and neither would you. But so, Done.
Oh, yes.
Where are you with Done now?
We're in a very exciting place where we doubled our business last year.
Amazing.
And I'm grateful for that. And here we are going into 2024. It started off, it's nuts. I'm working too hard and working too much. And I'm trying to find torchbearers, standard carriers to join our crusade, our mission, our adventure. I don't know what it really is, of really top experts who love to do all the stuff we've been talking about today: communicating with people, growing people, elevating people, inspiring people. So the platform is launching new stuff. There are new features. One of the most awesome features is daily checklists coming out online. That's brilliant. And, you know, it doesn't mean anything to most people, but to us, it's kind of like a milestone.
Checklist is a super important
thing. Well, we think so.
Because it's one of these things where everyone goes, oh, check, I know all this, clipboard. Yeah, okay, right. Cool, mate. But take that out. Take that mechanism out of a daily operation and see how quickly it starts to fall apart.
And the phone just talks to you, tells you you're supposed to do this now based on being on the premises and what is your position in the company. And that's just, to me, I think that's a major milestone. It's exciting. So we have other stuff coming out. Basically, what we want to do is, in long term, is replace the general manager with a software. And then the GM's role is to be present, figurehead, which is what most of them do anyway. And if there's some out there who are amazing, don't get mad at me. Don't waste your time commenting. Just call me and tell me, listen, I'm awesome, and let's have a meeting and talk. But, you know, most people just don't have the desire to train their teams. So we can never speak
very unusual, because it's if you train, and listen, not that I can do this, not that this is happening. I'm not going to stand on a pedestal and say this has happened in every venue I've ever worked and the venues I operate now. It's a constant evolution of trying to teach people whilst they're working in super competitive environments. So it's not just sit people down, do training classes, everyone gets it, look at me, you know.
Right.
But I do find it odd where people just don't focus on it, but then they wonder why service is poor, mistakes happen, there's inconsistencies, demotivated team members. I think one of the most interesting statistics is people leave their jobs not because of money, because they're not being shown anything and they're not being taught, which
Right.
I think people miss that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I think
I think
managers
it's
cut off their nose to spite their face. If they would invest in teaching their people, they have less problems to solve.
mm,
So then they are more valuable because their team is more productive. So the guest experience, as you like to call it, gets better. So then the manager is more recognized. So then he can turn the sunshine on his people and reward them. But they don't get it because they're worried about their position because our business is a very disposable mindset. Like this guy didn't work out, okay, throw him out. We can't. We have to invest in the management as people, not positions. And I was running a company back quite some time ago, I would say in the early 2000s, where I had a really senior job, but I was a function in the company and not a person. And I came to this crunch day where I wanted to say, listen, I feel that we should do, and I think we should do. And they're like, dude, you're doing great operationally. Stay in your lane. I'm like, no, I'm not staying in my lane. I'm out of here. And I left this amazing job. And today, looking back, even yesterday, I was talking about that specific moment as a turning point in my life where maybe I shouldn't have turned. I should have stayed there. Done wouldn't have happened, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? But
mm,
professionally, I disposed of myself. Like, I'm not getting what I want, a bit of ego and all. And I left. But if we can build these systems to run the business, and then we get amazing people to run the system, we have a far better journey than if we find amazing people and then we try to systemize them. It's just not going anywhere. So build an amazing business process. Who are we? Where are we going? And why are we going there? And what do we believe? Now convince me that this is good for me as a person to join in your mission, your objective, your tribe. And I will join your tribe and I will dedicate myself passionately to your tribe. But tell me what this tribe is. Tell me what it does. Tell me where it's going and tell me why it's going there. Now I have this in my head. Now I know my role. Searching for a restaurant manager. Don't touch the job. You're disposable. You want to go into a place where you are valuable and where your experience is contributing, but where there's a process and a system. Systems run businesses, people run systems.
that's powerful stuff. Honestly, I think that is really epic as a way to almost end. You know what I mean? Because again, we could go on for hours. So, yeah, to wrap up, final question: what's coming next for Mark Dickinson? Because as I think people will acknowledge in watching this, uh, there's a lot that you do and get up to. You have a lot of interesting thoughts and ways to approach things. So even as you say, you're still learning, approaching 60. What's coming down the pipe?
Brilliant question. First of all, I think family is my focus now. So the boy, Alexander, is now 14 and I need to be there. So I've decided consciously to spend more time with family. And I think in my own learning at the moment, there's this really cool thing that I'm working on right now, and it's 9 words. And these 9 words are awesome. So they transform the way you behave and interact with others. So I'm kind of working on that. So business-wise, we know we're growing the platform and the guys are working and there's more programmers than ever before and there's people selling and doing. That's great. But and I believe we've got enough momentum now that That thing is rolling. Yes, it needs a lot of pushing. It needs more power. We will grow with new investors. I believe we will capitalize. We will launch some advertising programs. We'll now take the traditional next steps to move from startup phase to SME, and hopefully we become big business one day. That's the dream. So the goal is, by 2029, we're a $10 million company. We're already well on our way. So in the next 4 or 5 years, we want to grow from where we are, which is about a $2 million company to a $10 million company, and maybe more. So that's the journey. And so integrations, interfaces, APIs with existing platforms so that we optimize what other people would like to have but don't yet have, so they don't have to build it, so they can make partnerships. So that's what's ahead in business. And then personally, it's the 9 words. So they are amazing words, and they're all, excuse me, they're all on one theme. And that is to be calm, to listen, to be patient, to pause, to be quiet, to enjoy silence, to be still, to slow things down, and to stop. And so each one of these words, as I'm sure you can imagine, has a whole story around it. And so what's next for me is to produce the book called The 9 Words. So that's the next project that's coming up.
Which will be your 3rd book or 4th?
Somewhere 4 or 5, I think. It's a book a year now.
Written so many.
Well, no, I mean, honestly, Sam, the funny thing is when you haven't written a book, it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
Once you've got a couple out there, so we got MDP, we got Grandma's Marmalade, Change the World, Becoming a Thinker. So they are great, 44 Wisdom Thoughts, which I actually memorized my own book. So when people say, oh, that book, so I felt like this book is so important, and yet it's so simple that I memorized it. So now with the 9 words, this is my latest, let's say, mission personally. So that's what's next for me, is the 9 words.
When will that be ready for consumption?
Great question. Yes.
Perfect. Well, look, Mark, I love you, man. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Sam.
It's been truly great to have you here. And I hope that as this grows, you'll be a reoccurring guest, not customer, because I'm not charging you.
Thank you.
But yes, so look, thank you so much. And
thank you,
I look forward to bringing you back in the future.
Awesome. Look forward to it.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, bro.
Cheers. Take care.